Hello everyone! Today, myself and my group will be discussing the recent findings about the evolutionary history of avian brains. A study published in the journal Current Biology correlated data concerning the brain size of theropod dinosaurs, primitive birds such as Archaeopteryx, and modern birds based on cranial capacity in order to discern a link of bird brain evolution. They did this by creating endocasts, models of the brain based on the shape of the skull cavity of the animals being studied. Birds are one of the 6 basic classes of animals. They first appeared in the fossil record approximately 135 million years ago and were descended from dinosaurs. Birds and dinosaurs are surprisingly similar, as paleontologists now believe that most theropod dinosaurs had feathers or some primitive feather-like coating. We are able to draw similarities between the structure of carnivorous dinosaurs and birds, such as their skeletal structure, as theropod dinosaurs possess the biped stance of birds, and the innovative double air sac lung systems that the dinosaurs used for oxygen delivery to their enormous bodies, and birds used to help them stay conscious during flight. The research into cranial capacity of birds and dinosaurs has revealed some key information. Firstly, it was found that the brain size of advanced dinosaurs and primitive birds were the same. These birds had a low evolutionary rate of change in their brain over time, and as such, their body-to-brain ratio remains almost unchanged. Some examples include pigeons, emus, and the now extinct moa. Secondly, corvids, crows, ravens, and kin, and parrots, 2 bird types with large brain sizes, evolved recently. Fossil evidence has shown that these birds have exceptionally high rates of brain evolution in recent history. Corvids and parrots have been shown to be cognitively active, exhibiting the ability to recognize faces, understand and use language and tools. A study published by Irina M. Pepperberg in 2002 about her experiments with the African grey parrot called Alex says he demonstrates intriguing commutative parallels with young humans, despite evolutionary distance. Alex was able to speak consciously and solve basic logic problems, comparable to a 4-year-old human child. I'll now pass over to Malak.
Early birds and dinosaurs exhibit similar relative brains. The evidence in place is the fossils associated with birds, mainly those that evolved to be flightless and ordinary birds. Brain size and body size determine changes in the brain concerning its evolution. Non-avian dinosaurs help provide further evidence on the evolution of brain size in birds over time. Body and brain size significantly affects the characteristics of a bird. Intercepts and slopes vary across different avian species. In this case, the variable are those of the changes happening in the body concerning those of the brain, mainly in evolution, though the ancestral origin and in the process affecting brain volume and body size. Highland birds have a lower slopes, which stand for large body size. Birds and hummingbirds have an added brain pathway lacking in the other birds that give them verbal ability. Rates and patterns of relative brain size further determine the growth of brains, time the phylogeny of birds, further giving clarity on the development of the brain and associated pattern in the birds. The EndoCast dataset provides more information on pairs and their brain patterns. The dataset follows the body brain size grades, the brain scans of pairs, together with their ancestry, further provide differences in having a larger brain and various vocal capabilities because of the having a larger brain, while cerebral neuronal density is in the process. The development of brains thus follows that of corvid together with pairs having developed brains due to their enhanced vocals. Natural selection, therefore, substantially situated the birds, particularly noting the extension of birds. Differential growth in the brain regions may explain the cognitive ability and size of birds. The tempo and patterns and brain size thus resulted from high evolution in ancient birds and stabilized among therapists, then shifted significantly in the Cenozoic while bringing about corvids and parrots having high brain development. Ali?
By creating a table featuring all of the bird grades, in this instance grade referring to 17 phylogenetic groups from the larger moas to famously intelligent crows and ravens, and writing down the average size of modern samples from each, then also noting the average size of their ancestors for both body size and brain size, and comparing how each number has changed over time, it shows that although for the most part, besides the outlier of moa, the birds' bodies have grown a small amount, their brains have all grown significantly, with the smallest growth in passerines still measuring at a ratio of 0.09. The last piece of evidence shown by diagram in this article is a phenogram showing the size of birds' brains up to 170 million years ago. This clearly demonstrates that time at which a change occurred from relatively standard brain growth into rapidly growing brain size. This is 60 million years ago. It can be seen that birds' brains adapted to different ecological eras and the extinction, such as rapid growth in the Cenozoic era and the extinction of the dinosaurs. This allowed the adaptive and strong cognitive behaviours that this article refers to in corvidae, such as crows and ravens, to peak in modern times, moving with the quickly rising red lines seen on this diagram. All of the evidence in this article relates the easily displayed growth patterns from steady through 170 million to 60 million years ago, and then rapid for a large majority of bird grades, to the intelligence and adaptability seen in modern birds. As the world changed throughout history, birds' bodies were well adapted to finding food sources with the use of flight and a varied diet, and this article's evidence shows that their brains have grown and continue to grow throughout history to adapt to more and more changes. And Billy?
Now, within this article, numerous ideas are put forth which may be deemed uncertain, but are ultimately addressed in a decisive manner. One such idea is that during the initial theropod birds transition, that the birds did not in fact evolve a larger brain-to-body ratio, instead opting for flightless larger bodies, such as a moa. However, it did allow for rapid changes in brain-body relationships that, according to the author, set the stage for dramatic shifts in early crow birds. Basically, whilst their first evolutionary research did not address anything they were hypothesizing, it was apparent to see just how it would be a strong base for their research into the crow bird brain. Another idea that is met with uncertainty is the trends found in birds' bodies to brain ratio. It was found that there is in fact many complex patterns in relation to the aviary brain-body allometry. It was found that initially the birds' larger ratios were contributed to a decrease in body size rather than an increase in brain mass. However, with the Tollervian land bird radiation, it was shown that the body size increased whilst the brain stayed the same. In order to determine this and be scientifically accurate, they couldn't just use their preconceived knowledge of Animalia evolutionary trends. They also had to use fossils of extinct aviary and dinosaur craniums to further develop their understanding. One controversy, however, is that due to lack of aviary fossils from the Mesozoic period, they often use dinosaur fossils of similar proportions to that of birds in order to consolidate their knowledge of early evolutionary paths. This idea is also important because we could potentially learn more information about our own cognitive and physiological evolution through these birds. One of the authors even quoted saying that crows are the hominins of the bird kingdom. In our own human evolutionary path, we understand and can estimate within a degree of accuracy the complete happenings of how it came to be. However, there are still some blanks within this theory that these aviary cranial studies could potentially aid with filling out. For instance, Homo sapiens did not have the largest cranial to body ratio out of all hominins, as it was in fact the Neanderthals. There is no conclusive proof, however, that they were in any way more intellectually capable, as their tools and ways of sustainability appear to be inferior to the Homo sapiens at the same time. The crow does in fact have the largest brain-to-body ratio of any bird, much like the Neanderthal, and in comparison, as Homo sapiens being the second largest brain-to-body ratio amongst hominins, the parrot also has the second largest brain-to-body ratio amongst birds. However, through all human testing, it has been determined that parrots are objectively smarter than crows, due to not only their problem-solving capabilities, but their ability to recognize human faces and reciprocate human speech. Studying the gradual evolution of these bird brains, especially around those of the crow and the parrot, we may indeed be able to understand our own evolutionary divergence, and be able to get exact dates and ideas as to when and how exactly we evolved.